All right, good morning. All right, we're on day 4 of 5 mornings of embodied presence. And I wanted to talk today about the importance of feeling seen, heard, and understood. And what the heck is that? So, my background is in developmental psych. That's sort of when I did my psych degree, I found that when I followed my passion, my geekery was for how do you create the ideal human? If you have a petri dish, what are the conditions under which that human thrives? And so so I sort of put all my, not all my attention, but my extra credits that I was allowed to sort of choose my own adventure. I put into developmental psych. And what I can, and even after beyond my degree, I studied Neufeld stuff in the Neufeld Institute in Vancouver, and what I realized as I would apply these principles in my own life when I was working with kids, when I was raising my own kid and somebody else's, helping raise somebody else's kid, I started to realize that the principles I'd applied there that worked really well, when I applied them when I started to see where were adults that I worked with, where they were having a hard time, I started to see a correlation between what kids needed like growing up, the um, so that a certain part of who they are developed well. So, say independence is a stage of development. If you actually apply the same principles to what kids need to develop healthily later on in life, in an area where maybe we have not, like we have a wound, like something happened when we were little, and so we learn to defend and guard and be strategic, be something other than who we are, like our natural self, we developed a way to be okay. Um, if we start to apply the same principles that work for young children so that the wound never exists, it changes. It's kind of like, this is the way I think about it. It's sort of like our development gets arrested, like our natural development that should happen becomes arrested when our nervous system pops in to come up with a strategy, a defense. It cuts off part of ourself. It develops a rule about who we have to be and how we have to be. If we give that part of ourself that gets reactive and that shows up, if we give it that what a kid needs to not have that happen, to not get the arrested development, it's like the development continues on. It's like we can pick up where we didn't get what we needed when we grew up. And it's kind of magic, in my opinion, or the way I look at magic. So when a kid has something happen, like a little traumatic event, so it can be a big traumatic event or it can be a relational traumatic event, meaning in some way how I show up is not okay. And so I have to pull back on that part of myself. So if it's, I can't be too loud. So I couldn't actually speak too loud. I had to always keep myself quiet because my mom worked night shifts and she'd come home in the morning from nursing all night and we'd have to all be quiet and we'd sort of walk on eggshells or another, one of your parents has a quick fuse and gets angry really easily. So you learn to walk on eggshells. That's really hard on a kid because it basically says, I can't be myself. I just have to be this small, tiny version of myself so that everything's okay. So if if when we were little, if somebody had noticed that that was happening and they had said to us, oh my gosh, I have noticed how hard you've been working at trying to not disturb mommy when she's trying to sleep in the morning. And that's really, really hard. Chances are, if that kid hasn't developed a shell yet, like a protective mechanism, and somebody notices that, chances are the kid's system will respond with crying. They will have this feeling of relief that somebody has noticed what they've been going through, and they will shake it off. Same thing with like if there's an accident that happens or something like that. If a child's allowed to release the adrenaline and the cortisol that fill its system when it has to respond to the trauma, because that's what happens. Our nervous system kicks in to fight or flight. We get adrenaline and cortisol in our system. And if that kid is allowed to just move through the emotional process, it shakes off the adrenaline and the cortisol, it resets its nervous system, and it runs off. That's why when you see a kid on the playground, something scary has happened. They come over. Oh my gosh, did you see that? The truck almost hit my head when the kid was throwing it in the playground, and oh my gosh. And the kid, if it's received, and we see and hear and understand them, they will cry it off. And then if you've ever seen a little kid do it, and then 2 seconds later, they go from like chest heaving cry to okay, bye, mom, and they head off again. Their system has released that little trauma, and now they can return to equilibrium. And they don't develop a protective mechanism. They learn that it's okay. I get scared, and then I get comforted, and then I move on. And that it just becomes this natural flow that our body does what it does, and we can just trust it. Nobody sends us the message that what our body does naturally is wrong. So, how that applies to your mindfulness practice is that when you're in your body and you notice your mind wandering or anything at all happening, or the somatic practice we've done, and you notice, there's that little twinge, there's that knot, there's that weight. When you notice that happening, it's a sign that something's going on, just like for the little kid. So that's why when we just pay attention to it, we notice it, we're interested in it. We see it, we notice it's happening, we sort of hear what it's trying to tell us, and we try and just understand it, like not like in a cerebral, we have to figure it out kind of way, but the pain just feels like it's understood. We have given importance basically to it. That's why it dissolves. It's like it has that same, at least that's the way it feels to me. And that feels correct when I sort of feel into it. So it shifts and it releases. It doesn't need to keep sending you signals that something is wrong. You need to pay attention to me. You've already paid attention to it. It can start to settle. And the more often we do that, the more we start to rewire the pathways that developed when we weren't seen and heard and understood, when somebody sent us the message that how we responded was not okay. And then we start to shut our natural way, our innate way of our body clearing, right? Like the little kid that can come and just be upset, and then it clears that chest heaving. Man, there's no way that does not burn a lot of cortisol and adrenaline after that shot has arrived in their body. It starts to clear it all out and allow them to return to equilibrium. So, in our practice, you don't need to chest heave cry. Although periodically I do find when I'm in a more mindful state, I do find that I have this, it's even sometimes just a little inkling that some tears are coming. And it would be really easy to shut down because it's so minor. But if that happens, just let the tears flow. Just let them do what they're going to do. Your body has an amazing innate intelligence if you get out of the way. All right. So again, I'm going to let you, I may come in with some cues as we go, but we're going to do what we did yesterday, where I'm going to let you sort of choose how you want to be mindful. You can do a body scan, whether it's kind of scanning the first time we sort of scan through the chakras, because I notice that tends to be, it makes sense to me in terms of energy centers. It tends to be where we have more sensations, like in our throat, in our heart, in our solar plexus, which is sort of just where your ribs meet, where they come up and they meet. It's just sort of below there. Your solar plexus are there. It's another energy center if you do energy work. In your belly, usually like just below your navel, thereabouts, and then your shoulders. Those tend to be where most things show up, but not the only place. So you can either go through and you can scan those points, or you can do a full body scan where you kind of start at your head and you move through, almost like you're in some kind of scanning machine. Just notice each part. What are the qualities of it? Does it feel heavy? Does it feel prickly? Does it feel like there's just an energetic tingle? Does it feel like a knot? Is there a color associated with it? Where exactly in that region is it? Is it very small? Is it kind of bigger? Does it take up the whole area? And how intense is it on a scale of 1 to 10? So you're going to move through and do that, or you can also just wait and see, can I just notice anywhere in my body? Just depends on what your preference is, what comes up. And if any thoughts come up, can you see and hear and understand the feeling that seems to be underneath it, as opposed to just feeding what is creating the feeling? All right. Hopefully that's clear. So take a couple minutes. We'll have about 5 minutes for this. Start to take some deep breaths and draw up into your body. Close your eyes if that feels appropriate. Maybe even notice what it's like to just slow down and arrive in your skin with nothing to do for the next few minutes except be in your body. And if you meet any resistance, bring in some curiosity from yesterday. And can you just notice and let yourself feel the feeling of resistance and offer yourself some care and understanding? And just one last minute to finish up. And as you're just starting to wrap up your practice, thank your body. Thank all the protective responses that you've had. They helped you get through childhood when you were having a hard time. Your unique being that showed up on this planet had a purpose here, meaning you and your uniqueness had a way of interacting with other people that was necessary. with your parents, with the kids that gave you a hard time. All those nervous system responses made you who you are, and you gained skills from that. And so thank that part of you. Even the protective part that gets in the way now, it has a function. And it's more than what we can get into right now, but some of your superpowers and what you're really good at come from that. So thank that part, even if it gets in the way sometimes. It's part of the process of what you're working on right now is to release some of those, but you still get to keep the good stuff. Thank God you have a body that works so well, a nervous system that will protect you when needed. And thank God you've got a loving self that does things like bring you to things like these that help you take hard, vulnerable steps so that you can create different relationships with yourself and with others. This is what changes the world. And so I am in awe of people who choose a path that is about changing the relationship with themselves and others, because that is what changes the world. And so thank you for being a part of that. Have a beautiful rest of your day. And I look forward to seeing you tomorrow.